Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at Lunchtime Volunteer Training. Today, we are going to be talking about dog walking. We have a lot of new volunteers coming in every other week, so one of the things they enjoy the most is dog walking, and it is something that is definitely a high priority. With the cats, they're able to go to the bathroom in their litter boxes. They're able to hang out in their kennels, nap, eat their favorite things. They certainly stay far more content while they're in confinement compared to a dog that needs to go outside to the bathroom and needs to run off some of their energy. They're certainly far more energetic than most of the cats, with the exception of, maybe kittens or some of the younger juveniles. But also, one of the fantastic benefits of cats right now is that they are getting adopted as soon as they are spayed and neutered. If you guys were at the Meet Your Match event last month, that last weekend we had it when it was sponsored by New Braunfels ER and Hospital, we ran out of cats. So it was absolutely fantastic. But with dogs, depending on the situation, they might be a little bit longer with us than the cats certainly are. And that is why dog walking is so important while they're in the facility. So I just wanted kind of to take, this opportunity to really kind of dive in and get specific about the dog walking, just so if anybody has any questions, needs some reminders, things like that, they certainly have something to refer to when they're coming in. So, going to the beginning, who can walk? So, as you guys know, that all dogs in adoption area are allowed to go on walks. Okay, we are not going to put anyone on adoption side that has any major medical issues, any major behavior issues, things like that. So, if they are over on adoption side, they are fully vaccinated, they're past their stray hold, they can go outside for a walk. They're adoption ready. They can get adopted that very day. The only exception on adoption dog side is going to be our puppies. Any puppies under 6 months of age. And it's likely going to have it in weeks. So we're looking at about 24 weeks and under. If it states that on the kennel card, those guys can either be interacted with within the kennel, or you can carry them outside. On the cement right in front of the building on the sidewalk area is where we are going to have a pen set up for puppies to play in, just because it's a lot easier to disinfect that area. We can hose it down with bleach and disinfectant. We cannot sanitize dirt and grass. So even though our puppies have been vaccinated, they are up to date on vaccines based on their age. We do not want them in the dirt and grass. Their immune systems are still too weak. And even though they've had vaccines, they still need additional boosters while they're little like that. So we want to protect them as much as possible and keep them safe. We don't want anybody to get sick because it's going to prolong their stay. So the only other exception to adoption dogs is that from time to time we may have a dog that either the staff or the lead volunteers are working with. So maybe they are extremely heavy pullers. Maybe they are dogs that are a little bit more reactive to other dogs, a little bit harder to handle on the leash, things like that. If we have one of those dogs that we're working closely with to modify their behavior and work on training, they may have a sign that says staff and leads only. That is the only exception on adoption dog side for dogs that can't walk with just any volunteers. So our lead volunteers, um, we have about 7 or so lead volunteers at this time that are able to walk the dogs. They do not have a separate shirt. But I do believe that all of our leads do have orange shirts at this time. They've all exceeded 100 hours of service to our facility. So while they won't have a different shirt, they know who they are. Okay. So if you happen to see someone walking one of those dogs, that doesn't mean, oh, it's okay to walk them. That is most likely a lead if it's not a staff member. So, but it's pretty rare. It's only once in a while that we have a dog like that over there. And it's also because they have more space on that side, so they can burn off some of their energy more rather than being in a kennel that's half that size. So when you venture into other areas, over on stray side, there's small dog room and then the stray dog kennels. The stray dog kennels look exactly the same as the adoption dog kennels. The only difference is we do have dividers down on all the kennels, so they don't have a double to run back and forth in. They only have the one side. And these particular dogs must have a big neon green circle sticker on their kennel tag if they're allowed to walk. Okay, that is not to be confused with the small green star. The small green star, the yellow circle, the red circle, those are all for staff use only in regards to vaccines. Did they get their vaccine? How did they behave upon intake? Things like that. So the only sticker you want to see is the huge neon green circle. Green means go, no sticker, no touch, period. Okay, so if they have one of these stickers, yes, you are allowed to take them outside on a walk. Now, it's no guarantee that there will be any small dogs that have been with us for long enough to get their green sticker, because remember, they get that after their stray hold is ended, after they've had vaccines on board for 7 days minimum, and then of course when their behavior is good. So sometimes with small dog room, they're in and out of there so fast that they just don't have time to even earn their green sticker. They get spayed and neutered, and oftentimes they're adopted the same day, which is fantastic. But you can always double check in there, you never know, and see if there is a green sticker in there, as well as on stray side. But I do want to put a priority on adoption side dogs just because they have been with us the longest, and we do want to make sure that they're out twice a day, every day. So before taking anybody out on a walk, I really want you guys to look at the marker board outside of adoption dog before you take anyone out. So what you're looking for is, are they a fence jumper? If they are a fence jumper, they are not allowed to go into the play yards off leash ever. They will climb those fences like crazy. Some of them are just super agile, and they want to explore. So um, pretty frequently we'll have a handful of them, or at least a couple. Okay, so that doesn't mean you can't walk them. I mean, take them out, enjoy them, get that energy out. These specific ones that are fence jumpers need to be taken on a walk before everybody else. They do not get to go into the play yards and run around and go to the bathroom while their kennel is being cleaned. The other non-fence jumpers, they do get to go in the play yards. So they, even though they might not be marked off as having that AM walk, a lot of those dogs will have been in the play yard running around, playing, going to the bathroom while their kennel is cleaned. So always take out the fence jumpers first. You're also going to look and see, are they jumpy or mouthy? Okay, if they are, and really with all the dogs, I definitely recommend you take a pocket full of treats, or grab one of the treat bags and just put dog food in it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. um, Dog food is an excellent way uh, to work on training. You can give them one kibble as a reward for anything they're doing. If they're walking nicely on a leash, give them a piece of kibble. If they sit on command, give them a piece of kibble, things like that. And with the jumpy and mouthy ones, when they are not jumping, or when you redirect any kind of play biting to a toy and they're being well behaved, chewing on toys and things rather than your pant leg or your shoelaces, give them a treat for that. We want to reward good behavior, ignore bad behavior, or redirect it. Okay? And if you guys ever have any questions on anything training related, Calvin, he is the tall young guy with brown hair. His office is the last door on the right across from Cat Boutique. So if you ever have any questions, he can help you guys out. Okay, so definitely use him. He's a great resource. And then we also have a couple staff members that have, gone on to further training in canine behavior and dog training. So they're also a wealth of knowledge in regards to that. So you guys can always utilize them. Um, I really want you guys to pay attention to how they are on a leash as well. If they're great on a leash, fantastic. If they're not so great, be mindful of which dog you're taking out. If you know that you can handle a heavy puller who is going to be jumping a lot, that's fine. If you're not sure, start small, okay? Take someone out who is not jumpy and who is good on a leash. You guys have to be mindful of what you can handle, just because if you try and take out a dog that's going to be too much for you, it's going to increase your chance of the dog getting loose. We also want to make sure that if you're not able to handle a particular dog and you have it out and it is, you know, if there's some kind of stimuli that gets its attention, maybe it's, the feral cat Tom that lives in the trees, or a possum or something. We don't want that dog to take after something that it's not supposed to, and you're not able to control it. So be mindful of what you can handle, what you can't. You guys know your limits and you know what you're capable of. So definitely pay attention to the walking board before choosing anyone to take out. If it's somebody you can't handle, it's okay. We have lots of other volunteers that are going to come in throughout the day, and they might be at a different dog level as far as what they can handle. So don't stress out about that, okay? You don't have to take that on if it's too much for you. We want everybody safe. We want the pets safe, and we do that by making sure we only handle what we can handle. So now, as you have chosen your dog and you've decided who you're going to take out, you can grab a leash and head out there. Now, just as a reminder, volunteers must be 16 or older to remove pets from their kennels. 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, this is where it's really important too to know what you can handle. Some of our youth volunteers are very small build, and some of our dogs might weigh the same amount or slightly more than them. So if you weigh 90 pounds, I would prefer that you don't take out a 110-pound dog. So just be aware of that. But 16 and up, only taking out the pets. If it's 15 and under, they have to be with a parent at all times. So the parent is the one that will remove the pets from the kennels. Now you can take your non-fence jumpers and put them in a play yard and let them off leash, and the 15 and under can run around and play with them and have fun. But one thing I will say about that too is, going back to the walking board, if you have a jumpy and a play bitey dog, keep that in mind if you take it out with your young kid, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, because if they jump, a lot of these dogs are pretty big and their face is going to be right at your child's face. So be mindful of that. So as you go into the kennels, you're always going to push the kennel door inwards into the kennel. You want to keep your body in between the kennel door and the wall so that the dog cannot get past you to get out. If you pull that door open towards you, the dog can slip out, get right past you, and run outside before you're ready. So please always push the door inwards into the kennel and keep your body blocking it. Once you're in the kennel, you want to latch the kennel door. There is a space right above the latch that is big enough for you to put your hand through so that you can latch it up. And then preferably, you want your dog to be either sitting calmly or standing on all four paws calmly before trying to leash them up. If they're overstimulated and overexcited, it makes leashing up a little bit more difficult. They might be jumping all over you, trying to chew on the leash, things like that. So have them calm down just for a moment while you get them leashed up. And then once you have a firm hold on that leash, that is when you can then reach through, unlatch the kennel door, and come out. Always make sure you have that leash firm. Make sure on the slip leads that they're down, tightened closer to the dog's neck, not choking them, but closer to where their head can't squeeze out. And then when you exit the kennel, you want to walk the dogs furthest away from the other kennel doors. So if that's along the wall, um, that's your best option. We don't want them snapping at each other through the kennel door. We don't want them spreading germs, things like that. So walk them furthest away. On adoption side, if they are in a double kennel, meaning that the divider is up in between two, they're able to go to the front, they're able to go to the back, try taking them out the back side of the kennel so that they go straight outside and you're not having to walk through the hallways in adoption dog. If they only have one half of the kennel because we've doubled up or we're out of space, then again, walk them furthest away from the kennel doors and take the most immediate route outside, whether that's the end of the kennels or down that middle hallway out. We want to make sure that we're reducing stress as much as possible. Any dog that has a barrier in its face is more agitated, more stressed out, and it does cause a little bit more reactivity when the dog wants to go out too, but they have to wait their turn. Maybe they have to go to the bathroom. You know, there could be a lot of different stressors going on. And then also, if you've noticed, when you've gone out there when it's been quieter, and then you've seen someone bringing a dog in or out, it gets very loud. That's very overstimulating. It's very stressful. So get them out, direct route as best as you can. Now, when you're taking them on a walk, you have multiple options of where you can take them. One of the great options, especially when it's very warm outside, sun is at full capacity. Walking down through the trees, you've got some shade through there. There's walking benches. That's a really nice area, especially to get good pictures of the dogs. Now, while you're walking through the tree area, we do have a feral cat named Tom, and that is his area. So you may see him, you may not, but it's something to be aware of, because if you have a dog that doesn't like cats, especially if it's one that we don't know doesn't like cats yet, we don't want them to try and take off after it. You can also walk all the way down the driveway and back. Any of the field areas that have been mowed down are fine. We just ask that you stay on the property. Don't go in tall grass ever. There is wildlife. I've kind of told you guys before, you know, we have possums that we release out to the area. If they happen to be in an area in town where they could get hurt, run over, things like that, we will relocate them out to around the shelter. So there could be possums, there could be raccoons, and there definitely could be snakes, to include rattlesnakes. So stay in the mowed down areas. Always keep a firm hold on that leash just in case something decides to pop up. You don't want your dog to go after it. And then as far as playing, again, this is for non-fence jumpers only. They can go in the play yards behind adoption dog kennels. Those are best in the morning before it gets too hot or sunny outside in the warmer months. Play yards across from the parking lot, those ones are good year round. They do have shade over there. They've got the playground equipment. And then once it starts getting warm, probably May, we'll put out the puppy pools again for them to play in. And then under 6 months, they're going to be in the puppy playpen only. So while you're out on the walk, keep a firm grip on your leash. I can't say it enough. We don't want to have loose dogs. If there's another dog, it can lead to a dog fight. If it's a dog that's more timid, they just might take off and not want to come back. So always keep a hold of that leash no matter what. If you have a child, maybe they're 15, it's a 15-year-old male child who plays football. Maybe he can hold on to the leash and perfectly handle that dog. But if you have a younger child, a smaller child, please don't pass the leash off to them if you think that the dog is too much for them to handle. Okay? We want to prevent loose dogs as much as possible. Keep dogs separated at all times. They are not allowed within nose touching distance. I prefer 10 to 20 feet. That way, if a dog is more reactive than the other dog and decides to go towards them, you have plenty of time, plenty of space to catch yourself, pull back on that leash, and prevent them from touching. Um, I think when dogs get too close, it tends to happen when we maybe have a couple or, maybe a couple friends coming in together that are both 16 and up, both able to handle a dog. Sometimes they'll get to talking and the dogs get closer and closer and closer as the conversation goes on. So please just keep those dogs separated at all times. If you want to be involved in putting dogs together, you can join us on pack walks or during play groups and have at it. But a staff member is present during those times, gives clear directions, so it's a lot more safe than just two volunteers out walking dogs together when you don't necessarily always know how they do with other dogs. So keep them separate. Um, Keep an eye on them. Observe their reactions to different things. If you see Tom out in the trees, how do they react to the cat? That could be an indicator of how they are towards cats in general. If there's, a possum or something scurrying around, how are they reacting? Maybe there's a squirrel. It kind of helps us gauge how they are. Also, their reaction to vehicles. Some of them are very, very scared when cars are driving down the driveway. All of these things are good to note. It kind of gives us an idea of their level of anxiety and different things that they're just not fond of. And then, of course, take lots and lots of photos. The dog walking calmly on a leash, maybe they're playing in a play yard or playing with their favorite toy, a dog cuddling with you or sitting calmly for treats. These are all great things to capture. Tonight, February 12th at 7 p.m., Zach will be doing the second Zoom training for how to capture the best adoption photos for dogs. I highly encourage you guys to hop on to that if you are available. Even you don't have to turn your camera on, you don't have to unmute yourself. You can even just listen in, but it's a lot of really good information on how best to capture these guys to make them more appealing to adopters. Again, they're staying for 30 plus days, some of these guys. It's really important that we are doing whatever we can to get them adopted as quickly as possible. So take advantage of those fun moments of them being cute or cuddly, and you can send them to me at my email, which you guys should have from the weekly updates, but it's volunteer@hsnba.org. Now, when you're going to return them to the kennel, very similar as to when you're taking them out, you're walking them furthest away from the other dog kennels and taking the most immediate route back into their kennel. If they are in a double, I can't stress this enough, make sure both kennel doors are latched, okay? At times, some of the kennel doors may not be latched, but they may just be closed and look like they are closed. But in reality, the latch is not clipped. So double check both kennel doors before you let that dog off leash. Otherwise, he's going to go in and go right back out the other door. So be mindful of that, please. Also, give them a treat for a job well done, especially if they were well behaved. We don't want them to think that they're being punished by going back to their kennel. We want them to know that that is their personal safe space for them to relax and enjoy. And it's a positive thing to return to the kennel. It's not negative. So we want them to be calm when they go back in. Also, check to see if they need more water while you're out there. Things are going to start heating up pretty soon and they will go through their water very quickly. So there are garden watering cans underneath the water spouts on the wall. You'll see them when you're in there. You can fill up that watering can, and you don't have to go into kennels. You just go right down the line through the kennel door with the spout. Excuse me, and you can fill up all the water bowls pretty quickly because we keep them right at the door for that very reason. Also, um, when you go to exit the kennel, you're going to pull it inward still into the kennel so you can keep your body in between the door and the wall. Do not open it out, even when you're exiting after walking a dog, because it still increases their chance of getting loose. And then, of course, make sure the kennel door is latched. And then you're going to go to the marker board. Check off the AM slot if it's before noon, or the PM slot if it's afternoon, for whichever dog you walked. If there's anything important that you think the next person needs to know, you can mark it on the marker board. That does not have to just be staff. So if they're a hard puller and it doesn't say that on there, go ahead and pulls hard on leash. Or if they're good on the leash, mark that. If they're jumpy or mouthy, you can put a J or an M in the jumpy and mouthy slot. If there's something they really loved, maybe they absolutely loved fetch, or they really liked playing in the puppy pools, whatever it is, you can put that on there too. That way, when the next person goes to take them out, they kind of know what they can do with them to allow them the most fun while they're on their break from the kennel. And if there's something like, um, you know, nervous around cars, something like that, you can always do that as well. Or if you think that they're timid or shy, you can put that on there as well, just again, so the next person knows, okay, let me go slower with this one. I also really appreciate when you guys fill out the pet personality reports. Um, if you fill out the paper copy, there is a blue container thing, slot thing on the marker board where you guys sign in at. That is where you can put the filled out ones, and then those get sent to me and I log them in their file. Or you can scan the QR code. The QR code is on top of the bookshelf where you sign in at. And there's another one on the back side of adoption dog kennel, or adoption dog room. So on that door, you can scan that while you're out there even. Just select the dog's name and it goes straight to the file. Either way, the more information we can get on them, the faster we get them adopted into the best possible home. Okay? And then, of course, email those photos to me. Um, if you guys are walking 5, 6 dogs, you're busy, I get it. That's fine. You can email all of them at once to me, later on or whenever. But I really love getting good pictures of them so that we can really push them on our website. A lot of people are looking at them online, looking at those pictures, judging them off of those pictures before they step foot in the shelter to meet them. So the better the photos, the faster they're adopted. So a couple what if situations. What if a dog gets loose while you're walking them? Well, a lot of times the dog, when you call them, will come back to you. It kind of depends on their energy and their length of stay. Um, Obviously, some of these guys might not know their name, but I've found that if you just kneel down and call them back, they'll usually come back to you. Usually, if you try to chase them, they just run faster and further. But one thing, you can yell loose dog as loud as you can, and a staff member, other volunteers, we're going to hear you and we're going to come out and help you. Oftentimes, when someone yells loose dog, you see about 5 or 10 people running in that direction. So we will help you. But again, if you're mindful, if you're paying attention while walking them, making sure that leash is on there good, making sure you're only taking out dogs you can handle, this should not be an issue. Keep gates latched, double check latches before you let them off leash in the play yard, things like that. What if 2 dogs make contact and get into a fight? Again, you should have your dogs separated, and you should have a good distance between them to kind of avoid this ever happening. But should it happen, I will say keep a firm grip on that leash. Do not let go of that leash. You can use the leashes to separate them. Do not ever put your hands anywhere near their faces to separate them if they should get into a quarrel. One thing you can do, and you shouldn't have to if you have the leash in your hand, but what you could do is the wheelbarrow method, where you grab the back legs of the dog and you're pulling back and turning in a circular movement so that it's not straight back, because you don't want them to whip their head around and get you. Okay, you do not want to get bit during a dog fight. So um, the wheelbarrow method, Google it. There's a YouTube video on it, I'm sure. That's the best option if for some reason you don't have your leash. If you have dropped the leash because you panicked, um, don't lean down and grab that leash if you are going to put yourself in a position that you could get injured if the dog turns around while being reactive to the other dog. Okay, because that could get you bit in the face. Um, this is why it's so important to keep the dogs separated all the times and to not let your dogs get loose. Most of the time, we avoid this, but it is something I want you guys to be aware of just in case. So, what if I can't get the dog to go back in? So, we see this sometimes. I can't even think how many times I've seen a dog come through the front adoption area to go back into the kennel, and then they just lay down on the floor and they don't want to go any further. If it's a dog that's not super timid, you can usually just pick them up and carry them, unless it's like 80-pound dog. You can get a staff member to help you, but most of the time, if you just encourage them, kind of kneel down and tell them, come on, let's go, they'll usually get back in there pretty easily. And then if you're handling a dog and you get bit, we want to know about it. Even if it doesn't break skin, let us know about it. Okay, so this could be play biting behavior, especially with those puppies that are teething, and kind of learning different things still. You can mark that play biting on the marker board under Jumpy and Mouthy by putting an M in that slot. If you get bit and it breaks skin, if a tooth scratches you, even not a bite, just a tooth scratch, and it breaks skin, that does count as a bite in the state of Texas. It is Texas state law that they do need to be quarantined for 10 days to make sure they don't have rabies, you don't have rabies, and then after that 10-day quarantine, they'll be cleared by a vet, and then they can go back into adoption or stray side or wherever they were housed at. When you're handling the adoption dogs, granted, they've all had rabies vaccines, with the exception of some of the puppies might not have if they're too little yet, but the risk of getting rabies from an adoption ready dog is quite low, but it is still the state law. We have to make sure that we're following the laws regarding any kind of tooth breaking skin. We also want to make sure that you are okay. You know, it's really stressful when a dog bites you, so we want to make sure you're okay. We want to make sure that you're cleaned up good, no risk of infection, things like that. But with this, as far as avoiding it, I would say, if you see one of the dogs is super timid, go slow. If you don't feel comfortable handling a dog, don't handle it. There is a lot of animals in this shelter, and you don't need to push yourself to an uncomfortable place to ensure that every pet gets interacted with, because among all the volunteers, there will be somebody that doesn't have that same, nervousness, or maybe the pet doesn't react timid or shy around them because they're used to them, or whatever the case may be. So don't push yourself into a place where it could be unsafe. Okay, and don't stress when it comes to that. So just all of these things, yeah, they're worst case scenario. Can they happen? Absolutely. We're working with animals. But following all the previous information I've shared, that should not be an issue. Okay, so be mindful, know what you can handle. And then I also just want to make a reminder. So we do, most of the time in the mornings, dog walks are conducted throughout the morning. That's usually our busier time. Now, in the afternoons, about the last 2 hours of the day, we are doing afternoon safaris, making sure all the adoption dogs get out for their final walk. But I want to remind you guys that the shelter does close at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 4 p.m. on Saturdays. So it's really important that all the pets are back in their kennel at about 5 to 10 minutes till closing, so that you have time to sign out and everything. It is really important that we're closing promptly at those times. We will have staff come in sometimes as early as 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, depending on who needs to take vet visits, if it's a surgery day, all kinds of different things. So it makes for a very long work day if a staff member has already been in the building for, 11 or 12 hours. So um, please make sure all pets are back in their kennels prior to closing. Everyone's signed out, and out of the parking lot, at the correct time, so that we're not exceeding our day. If you guys have any questions after this training, please be sure to reach out to me. Um, Email is best. I answer very quickly. I do have the new office phone number. It's I think it's working. There might be a glitch in the system, but anyways, you can always try and get me through that number. But email's probably for the best, or you can even reach out to me on Messenger. That's fine if you have Facebook. Um, any questions you guys have, I'm always willing to answer. So, also, I will say that I am going to be on the shelter on the 14th, this Saturday. So if anybody wants to be shown in person on how to get the dogs in and out, or how to walk them, or work on some training, any of that stuff, please let me know. I have my regular orientations, and I have plenty of time for you guys in between. So don't hesitate to reach out, or pop in if you want a little extra one-on-one time, okay? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.